Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry was not a luxury, it was a necessity. Hogwarts was truly an institution born out of the conditions faced by both the Muggle world and the wizarding world of its time. Although there is no definitive historical record, it is estimated that the school was founded around the year 990 AD. As you know, all four founders played an active role in every aspect of the school, from its construction to its educational philosophy. They shaped the very character of Hogwarts by admitting students according to their own worldviews and personalities. However, the ideological conflict between two of these founders did not remain within the walls of Hogwarts. It went on to become an issue that would plague British wizarding society for centuries. In this video, we will explore how the thousand-year conflict between Salazar Slytherin and Godric Gryffindor began. Historical records describe Godric Gryffindor and Salazar Slytherin as having once been like brothers. Their friendship gave birth to Hogwarts. Godric was the school's shield. Salazar was its safeguard. Yet their eventual hostility dragged not only Hogwarts, but the entire British wizarding society into a thousand-year-long state of chaos. The late 10th century was a dark age for European witches and wizards. In England, Muggles had begun witch hunts. Anyone who displayed magical ability, regardless of age or gender, was brutally hunted down and killed. Wizards were forced underground, and it was at this exact moment that the four most powerful witches and wizards of the era came together. Godric Gryffindor came from a harsh and violent world. He was a warrior by nature, someone who wielded his wand like a sword, and his sword like a wand. His philosophy was simple yet uncompromising. Power exists to protect. Every child born with magical ability, regardless of blood status, deserved to be educated and protected. Because while the outside world stood united against the wizarding community and actively sought its destruction, witches and wizards could not afford further division among themselves. Salazar Slytherin came from the mist-covered and treacherous marshlands of Fenland. He was a genius, but a wounded one. Among the four founders, he was likely the one who had suffered the most from, or at least witnessed the worst of, Muggle persecution. As a result, his worldview was built on fear and constant vigilance. To Salazar, power existed to rule, and caution was the greatest virtue. In the beginning, these two men complemented one another. Together, they created the safest sanctuary in Britain. They shared meals at the same table, devised plans side by side, and looked upon their creation with pride. But as Hogwarts grew, and as the number of students increased, the dark seed in Salazar's mind began to take root. As Hogwarts expanded and its student body grew, the dark seed in Salazar's mind fully began to sprout. Muggle-born students. Salazar could not see Muggle-born children as individuals blessed with magical ability. To him, they were potential spies, Trojan horses capable of exposing the school's location or the wizarding community at any moment. For that reason, he believed that magical education should be reserved exclusively for children from pure-blood families. Beneath Salazar's obsession with blood purity lay an extreme and deeply rooted security paranoia. Why should the children of those who slaughtered witches and wizards be taught magic at all? Godric's stance could not have been more different. Every child gifted with magic was special, and every one of them deserved an education. As the years passed, the conflict between Godric and Salazar only intensified. When Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff openly sided with Godric, Salazar found himself completely cornered. And when you corner a man, he will either surrender or strike back. Salazar was not a man who would surrender. Although historical records are not entirely clear, it is said that before leaving the castle, Salazar and Godric engaged in a duel. However, long before this final confrontation ever took place, Salazar had already begun preparing something far more calculated. However, long before reaching this point, Salazar had already constructed the Chamber of Secrets. Contrary to popular belief, his original intention was not to hide a basilisk within it. According to J.K. Rowling's notes, a dispute had previously broken out among the founders regarding the use of dark arts. Salazar used the chamber to secretly teach dark arts to a select group of students. When Salazar realized that his ideas would no longer be tolerated at Hogwarts, he transformed the chamber into something far more dangerous, a magical time bomb. Before leaving the school, he placed a creature capable of living for nearly 1,000 years inside the chamber and sealed it in a way that only his heirs would ever be able to open. The existence of the Chamber of Secrets allows us to draw some deeply troubling conclusions about Salazar Slytherin's character. The fact that he devised a plan capable of unfolding over 1,000 years reveals extraordinary patience. While the other founders left no personal symbols or monuments anywhere in the school beyond their common rooms, Salazar constructed an additional chamber and adorned it with his own iconography. This alone speaks volumes about his sense of superiority and arrogance. More disturbingly, he was willing to eliminate what he perceived as a threat, even if that meant the murder of children. Raising a basilisk, a creature whose breeding was strictly forbidden, and placing it inside a school was a grave crime in itself. The chamber was not merely a hidden room, it was a message directed at the other founders. After Salazar Slytherin left Hogwarts, the school appeared to exist in relative peace. But his ideas had already spread far beyond its walls. Centuries later, Salazar's obsession with blood purity gave rise to the wizarding aristocracy. The Sacred 28 list, published in the 1930s, stands as clear proof that his ideology continued to define the so-called noble class of wizarding society, even hundreds of years after his departure. In other words, while Salazar seemed to have lost Hogwarts, his beliefs went on to shape the elite who governed both the ministry and the wider magical world. The war between Gryffindor and Slytherin did not end here. It simply changed its form. If you enjoyed this video, a like really helps, and subscribing means you won't miss what comes next. Thanks for watching.